Hi, this is Kat Chancellor with Stamp Art Connection. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and today I want to demonstrate how I created these backgrounds for my Party Panda cards. The Party Panda sets are available in the Celebrations catalog and are free with a $50 order. You can see these wonderful thinlits. These thinlits are also available in the Celebrations catalog, and they are free with a $100 order, and they're really gorgeous, and I will demonstrate how I put these cards together. But first I want to focus on the BRUSHO Crystal Colour that I used to create these neat backgrounds and give you some tips on how to use them. So what you're going to need to do the backgrounds are, you're going to need 3 pieces of watercolor paper, and I'm cutting them to 5 3 3/4 because I'm going to make a card with these, and they're going to be layered over a regular size 5 1/2, 3 3/4, and then I'm going to layer 5 1/4 by 4. As you can see here, I layered it an extra layer. You're also going to need a textured image, and in this case I am using the Playful background set as my textured image for my reverse emboss technique. And I'm going to need my Versamark ink, as well as some clear embossing powder that I am going to emboss this image. The other technique I'm going to use, I'm going to take a stencil and I'm going to lay this over my cardstock, and we're going to use the BRUSHO color and come up with a pattern using a stencil. So any stencil that you have will work. I believe this is one of the stencils that is in the catalog to be used with the embossing paste. So this is available in the annual catalog. So let's go ahead and put those aside for now, and let's talk about these BRUSHO colors. When you get your BRUSHO products, they're going to be in this box, and they're each going to be a little pot, and on the top is going to be a little tab with the color on it. What I did, and you can see that the whole piece is starting to come off, which really isn't a big deal, but I poked the top of my container using my piercing tool. Just simply poked the top, it goes all the way through, and that is how I'm going to squeeze the color out. And then I want to go ahead and cover that for when I store it. So you get 5 colors: Prussian blue, Gamboge, which is really just an orange, moss green, a brilliant red, and a yellow. Now what I have here is just a strip of watercolor paper, because what I want to do is I want to show you how I kind of started to play with these colors. Take a strip of watercolor paper, about 8 inches long by about 2 inches, and go ahead and draw 5 blocks on your paper. Then take a aqua painter, and you can also use a spritzer, and start out with the darkest color. And what I did is I just sprinkled a little bit of that right on the block, and then I sprayed it. And immediately I see the color come out, and you can see that it comes out very intense, and you can use your aqua painter to go ahead and paint it into your box. And this gives you an idea of what that color looks like. And I also have a paper towel here to clean my aqua painter. take my next color, which is going to be, in this case, Gamboge. Again, I'm going to sprinkle, and instead of squeezing the pot, all I do is kind of tap the bottom. I'm going to use my spritzer, and again I'm going to see what kind of color I get with that, and that's a nice kind of a yellow orange. Let me add some more color to that. And you can see how it's starting to get a little bit darker. That's the darker orange. So a little bit gives you kind of a very light yellow color. And then if you add more pigment, you're going to get that orange color. That's Gamboge. This is moss green. Sprinkle and spritz. And there's a lot of other little colors in here that make up that color, which is what makes the these BRUSHO Crystal watercolors so interesting, because if they don't totally dissolve, you do get some bright spots of pigment. So this is the moss green. It's kind of a soft green color. We're then going to go with, let's go with yellow. And I'm going to spritz. And here's my yellow color. So that's a much lighter color than my Gamboge. And the last is going to be my brilliant red. So this is a something that you can do when you get your BRUSHO colors. Look at that intense color, just to kind of play around with them and get an idea of how rich those colors actually are. Now I'm going to pat this dry, and I can show you what I did earlier as I was playing with the colors. This was another sheet that I used, and it is much more, the colors are much stronger because I really wanted to get a feel for how saturated the color could be. And here you can see kind of how light, what a light wash. So there's different types of effects you can get with this color. I'm going to turn it over, and I've got some blocks already on the back side, because what I'm going to show you is that if I take yellow in this block, let me pull that off, and then I take Prussian blue in this block, I'm going to get a different color. I'm going to spritz it, and then I'm going to mix it, and I'm going to get a much brighter green than my mossy green. So now I'm going to take my red, my brilliant red, just going to put it in this box. And then I'm going to put my Prussian blue alongside of it. Again, I'm going to spritz. And I'm going to mix, and I get a really pretty purple. From those two colors. And this is what I was doing over here, is I was just kind of mixing some of the colors. You can see here red and blue gives me this purple color, and then I took Prussian blue and yellow, and I got this green, which is a much deeper green than this mossy green down here. So here are just ideas that you can use, and again, you can already see some of the effects that you can get just with how we were spritzing the colors, which is exactly what we're going to do when we do the reverse emboss. So let's put this aside. This is kind of our test to play with our colors. I'm going to go ahead and clean off my aqua painter here. And I'm going to, got plenty of water in my spritzer. I'm going to set them aside because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my watercolor paper and I'm going to stamp it with my Versamark so I can do my reverse embossing technique. So I'm just going to take my circles and I'm just going to stamp them across my paper. I am then going to take my clear powder, or rather I'm going to use, you could use clear or white. So for this one I'm going to use the white powder. I'm just going to sprinkle that over. Okay, there's the white. And let me go ahead and put this back into the little pot. I got several layers of these coffee filters that I use over and over again to capture my embossing powder. Now I'm going to use my clear powder for this one. Oops, I just got it all over the place. Okay, but that's easy breezy. I'm just going to move this aside and I'm going to take my paper and I'm going to just go ahead and there we go. I got it inside my embossing container. Okay, so now that I have that, I'm simply going to get my heat tool and I'm going to emboss. Okay, so I've completed both the clear and the white. Let me get my pieces and parts here. There we go. On my cardstock. So now what we're going to do is we're going to play around with our color. So I'm basically going to take just one of my pieces of watercolor paper. I'm going to lay it on top of a piece of paper towel. Let me turn it this way. I'm going to take the I'm going to take my yellow and I'm going to use my spritzer, but I'm going to apply the yellow. I'm going to shake my yellow right here, and then kind of using my my color template here, I'm going to go from yellow and I'm going to use a little bit of Gamboge. And then I want to use, oops, that was green. I want to use a brilliant red. And let's see, we're going to use brilliant red all the way up there. And Gamboge. So I have shaken out on my watercolor paper yellow. I mistakenly put the mossy green, but what I wanted to do was yellow, gamboge, and then red. Now I'm going to take my spritzer, I'm just going to move these off to the side, and I'm going to just basically apply color in this direction. I'm going to spritz across my paper in that direction. And you can see the color is already kind of deploying. I can move my paper around if I want. If I want to spread the color, I can use my aqua painter. I can spread the color a little bit if I want to blend it. I want to get the corners. And then if I'm done, all I have to do is take my heat tool and put it on the lower setting, and I can set this. I can dry my colors right in place. Now, right now my paper's kind of warped. You can see it's kind of a U, but as I dry this off, it's actually going to start flattening out on me. And I'm leaving some of this heavier color inside my little circles there. And you see how the paper, I don't know if you can kind of see it, but the paper is actually starting to open up and it's starting to go flat. You can see that, the paper is now flat because I'm drying, and I'm drying these little pots, these little pools of pigment in those circles where the reverse emboss has caught those pigment pools, because that's going to give us some really pretty effect. So there you go. There is our first background using the yellow gamboge and then the bright red, the brilliant red, spraying it across, mixing the colors, and then using our heat tool to kind of mix it and set it. And then I've got our little puddles of pigment in there that really looks nice. Okay, so that's one, and I'm going to clean my aqua painter here. So now it's nice and clean. For my next background, and I'm going to use a piece of paper towel again. Lay my watercolor paper on top of my paper towel. And I've got my spritzer and my aqua painter. So now, what we did was kind of this effect. So now let's do something a little different. Let's play with the yellow and the blue. So I'm going to take the yellow, and we're going to put the yellow around the outside. And all I'm doing is I'm tapping my little pot of color, and that's my yellow. Then I'm going to take my Prussian blue, and we're going to put that there. So now I think I want to go this way, so I'm going to spray across. If you hear any snoring, that's my pug, Rocky. He's taking a nap over here, and he's a very loud snorer. So there, I'm kind of mixing those colors together. I can get kind of a neat veiny effect. Okay, and when I'm done mixing, and now because I used yellow and blue, I got kind of a neat green. I'm just going to go ahead and lock that color in with my heat tool. I'm pushing it off some of these corners over here, and that's kind of the higher setting, so I want the lower setting. And you can see again, if you can see, my paper is concave, but I want to show you that as I dry it, you see it flattening out? It's going to start flattening straight out. There it is. Look at that. Starting to flatten out. Now what you can do, because we did this one with the white, is you can go ahead and you can white the top of what you have embossed, and they will come up white. The same with this one. Take a clean side, just basically wipe across what I embossed, and you can see they kind of clean up, and you can see them clearly. So there you go. There's two really pretty techniques using our spritzer, our Stampin' Up! Mini spritzer here, and our colors, the yellow and the red, which kind of gives us this nice yellow, orange, red, and then the yellow and the blue, which kind of gives us this neat green color. So there's two effects, and they're going to dry a little bit more, so I'm going to just set these aside. So now we're going to do the last piece, which is using our using a stencil. So I'm going to take my last piece of cardstock and another paper towel. I'm going to put my cardstock down, but this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a piece of washi tape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this old washi tape, and I'm just going to put a little piece right here. I'm going to put a little piece right here. Then I'm going to lay my stencil on top of it. And I'm going to tape my stencil down to my paper towel. Now, you can do this on cardboard, you can do this on masonite to get a very tight fit. And what I'm going to do is basically just kind of hold it like this, and we're going to, because I'm going to spray straight down, and the color I'm going to use is, I'm just going to use Gamboge. So I have my Gamboge, and I'm just going to sprinkle. And in this case, it's stuck. This has gotten plugged, so I have to kind of reopen it. There we go. I'm just sprinkling it. And it's not a lot. It looks like a lot, but it really isn't a lot of pigment that's going down on our thing. And let me see if I can bring this in a little bit so you can see that I have, you can see where I've sprayed it. So now I'm going to take my spritzer, and I'm just going to and I don't want to totally puddle it. And now I've got water inside the little holes, so I can even sprinkle more color, or maybe even a different color. Okay, and that's all I want. So I'm just going to lift this up, and then this is the effect that you get. Let me back this off a little bit. There you go. You can see the effect. So what I want to do now is I'm just going to set that aside because I do want to make sure that I clean my stencil off. So I'm just going to go ahead and wipe my stencil down. I have a wet wipe here. Make sure that I clean this off because I am going to use it on my embossing paste, and I want to make sure I keep this clean. So that's the first thing I want to do. I'm going to put that aside. And we're going to go back to this. Now see, this has kind of started to kind of soak in some of the color. So now I'm just going to basically we're going to move some of this around a little bit. If I want, I can even just kind of shake this around and splatter some of that color out. And there you go. Very quick, easy, no big deal. We have done 3 backgrounds that in my next video we're going to put together our Party Panda card. But you can see how really easy it is to use the BRUSHO Crystal Colors, your aqua painter, and a mini spritzer. Stay tuned for my next video. This is Cat Chancellor, Stamp Art Connection. Happy stamping.